All right, I am going to open or continue the recessed public hearing from our last meeting. This is the public hearing continuation on application 1217-1, requesting a zoning map amendment. What I will do is ask the applicant if they would like to come forward and say anything or any kind of update or comments that they'd like to make before I open it up to the public. Come on up, state your name and where you're from and all that jazz. And
Vince Urek, 4509 Prestwick Crossing, Westlake, Ohio, 44145. On behalf of Seattle Consulting LLC, we're looking to rezone the parcel that's located on Concord Hamden Road, pretty much catty corner from this building. And just wanted to go over and touch base on everything again. So far in the wording, Town Hall Neighborhood says it allows residential uses, but does not specify what type of uses. And right now on this parcel, there's a residential home that's been on the site since 1931 and has continuously been used as a residential home. The Town Hall neighborhood has been changed over to zoning to Town Hall neighborhood in 2009 with the intent to develop a township center with businesses. And as of now, nothing has been done in 9 years, and most of those businesses are now going over to Krill Road and Auburn, and that's pretty much the city center right now. So other property owners in Town Hall neighborhood are currently looking to rezone the Town Hall neighborhood or change the verbiage to allow residential family homes. And when they changed it over to Town Hall neighborhood, they were looking to create a buffer zone between manufacturing and the Town Hall community area. And as of right now, as I mentioned, nothing has been done. Putting residential in there would create a good buffer between the manufacturing and the Town Hall community. And this parcel, if it is changed over to residential and adding a couple more properties to it, would increase the taxes approximately $28,000 more a year. So Lake County Planning Commission has recommended to rezone it, and the Concord Township Board wanted to see a little bit more willingness for the other parcel owners to want to change over to residential as well, which I've spoken to a couple of them and they are willing. So the current home on the property is completely ADA compliant with ramps, elevators, lifts, and it's strategically placed throughout the property. So we'd like to keep it like that and get it an ADA compliant home for the use of such as a residential. And it's going to add value to that area, since currently on the intersection of Ravenna and Concord Hamden, right now sits Town Hall here, a church, a nursery, and another residential home, which is right on the road. So in the past, local residents have come in to voice their opinion on the opposition to change it over to some kind of a residential parcel. And through the 4 hearings that I've had, I haven't had anybody come in and say anything negative. So I see that as a positive.
Were you at the Planning Commission's hearing?
The Lake County?
Lake County.
I was unable to make that.
Do you know what the vote was on that?
I do.
I know it was an affirmative. I just don't know how many yeses, how many noes.
I believe it was unanimous.
either way, they recommend.
Yeah, they recommended
Yep,
that. I
they did.
was just wondering.
They recommend.
It didn't say in the letter what the vote was.
I don't have anything else.
Connie, do you have anything?
Sorry,
No.
I didn't mean to
No.
interrupt you, but
No, that's all right.
No, it's,
All good?
And again, just, you're looking to potentially build 2 new houses?
Correct.
And leave the existing one there, so there would be a
According
total of
to
3?
R1 zoning regulations, it would have to be divided into another 2 more based on the lot allowance, the minimum lot, sorry.
Got it.
Okay.
All right, thank you. I'll open it up now to the audience, i.e. the public, if there's anybody that would like to speak to this. Come forward. Okay, there is no one. I would ask you one question. We did recess this the last time, and we do have that zoning text amendment working its way through the process now. I believe that started yesterday with the zoning commission from the other developer that submitted on another parcel within that district. What is your preference at this time? Would you like us to continue this process or recess it, or would you like us to close this and us to make a decision up or down on your application at this time? What's your preference?
I would prefer a vote today if possible.
Okay. Based on the applicant's preference for us to take an action in the affirmative or the negative, but to at least take an action on his application today, I will look to close this public hearing if there's no objections to
No
that.
objection.
No objection.
Okay. So, being that there was no public input for this public hearing, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. And that will bring us straight into our regularly scheduled Concord Township Board of Trustees meeting for Wednesday, March 7th. Please join Chief Sabo in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Galloway?
I'm here.
Mrs. Luda?
Here.
Mr. Melchesky?
Present.
Okay. Approval of minutes we have in front of us, February 21, special and regular.
Public hearing.
I'm
right?
sorry. Yeah, public hearing. I don't think we have the public hearing, do we?
Yeah, it's
there.
always the first part. Read the top, it's the first part.
Oh,
We
okay.
start with the public hearing and
Got
then
it.
go into the,
I already proved it. I didn't. Got it. Got it.
Yep, yep.
So that is the 21st, and then we have the March 2nd special meeting. Does anybody have any changes?
You
No.
see March 2nd one.
It's
Very short.
all executive session, so there's very little.
Okay. Nope.
No, I have no changes.
Okay, then those are approved as presented. Elected official reports, fiscal officer, Mrs. Dawson.
thank you, Mr. Galloway. As of February 28th, we were 16% of the way through the calendar year. Treasury balance for the 19 funds within the township treasury was $5.4 million. I don't think that is correct. Sorry about that. That was $4.3 million. After posting the advance of the first half of the 2017 real estate taxes, $4.3 million. The remainder of the funds will be received in late May or early April. The treasury balance includes $32,376 in funds set aside for specific projects. Year to date, the revenue is 17% of the annual budgeted resources, and expenditures were 40% of the temporary budgeted expenses for 2018, so we're well within budget. We'll be asking the trustees this evening to approve our 2018 permanent appropriations. I will also be requesting an approval for our updated cemetery rules and regulations. If the trustees approve them tonight, you can find them located on our website, and we will be posting them in the cemetery once the weather clears. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to call our office, 354-7516. That's all I have, Mr. Galloway.
Thank you. Mr. Malczewski.
I have nothing.
On Monday, I attended the annual meeting of the Lake County Health District. And I brought the records back, and they're in the office, if you'd like to look at them.
I think that we will be, because we do have concerns about the Lake County Health District budget,
Okay.
and its seemingly endless growth.
Yes, they increased the contributions for everyone at 2.75%.
And so those that at home know that Concord is obligated to pay into the Lake County Health District, and that bill is, on an annual basis, that money is taken off the top when Mrs. Dawson receives her general fund dollars from the auditor. That money is taken off the top, and I believe this year it is $330,000, which is by far the largest it's ever been. I think when we started as trustees, it was somewhere around, that was 12 years ago, but it was somewhere around 270.
No, it was 100,000 back then.
Oh, was it?
But see, it's based on the property valuation.
Right.
We've all of a
and-
sudden
and-
become a big donor.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we have.
So I think that this board is going to be pushing to see if we're spending $330,000 annually as a community of our tax dollars, and that's inside millage that we don't ever then get to see, although it shows and reflects as part of our overall what we receive in budget.
We get it for about 2 minutes and it goes away.
Yeah, right. I do,
They give it to us and take it away.
It's like, there it is, and you got to look at it, and oh, by the way, you don't get to have that. I think the big issue for us is making sure that Concord is getting our value on that.
I mean, you know,
That's my concern.
If you compare it to stormwater, and the stormwater, we have the stormwater department here. We can see the project costs. We can see how much how much our community gives to the stormwater department and how much we get in return from the stormwater department. And we make sure that we do that on a yearly basis, and we make sure that we get every dollar, if not more, in projects. The health department's a lot different, you know, and they come and they inspect our restaurants and inspect the schools that are in Concord Township and the facilities of, you know, whether it's a church facility, the
Kitchens.
cafeterias, the kitchens.
Foods, you know.
So they do all those things, but they
charge a fee for that.
they charge a fee for that, and they get that back, and that's all part of that fee. And so our dollars and cents, I think, go towards mosquitoes, you know, the packets that get dropped for rabies. Connie, I don't know, what else did you learn there? This is off of my top of my head of how that works.
They had a fire, you know, and they're redoing the building that they moved into on Heisley Road. So, and they do have other activities.
They do. There's septic testing, and there's other, you know, there's other inspections, noxious weeds. I mean, there's other things they do. But I think the important thing for us is to be able to have a full review of that, those dollars that are going out versus coming back. Now, we understand that Concord has become, for a lot of these levies, be it senior services and other levies that are within the county, as an example, and this isn't a levy, it's inside, but Concord has primarily been a donor community versus the services that are actually coming back in.
Absolutely.
And that's understood. But I think it's our duty to make sure that when these types of things are going on with a county agency, that we are getting, you know, the flippant answer is it's, you know, $330,000 doesn't justify mosquitoes and spraying and rabies packets.
They did have 10 different areas that they did, but they just showed them in slides. They didn't have a handout.
No, and they
so-
do. They do a lot of different things. So I think part of what I'd like to do as we move forward in this new fiscal year is talking to some of the other communities about what they're getting versus what we're getting, and making sure that, excuse me, that we're getting that value there. I don't know that there's anything legally or statutorily that we can do, because I believe that once there is a county health district in place, townships, unlike cities, I believe we are required to belong to it. We
Yep.
don't get to do our own thing,
Right.
or to create our own, if there's one already in existence. But that doesn't mean that as elected officials, we can't
question.
work towards accountability on things. So I'll get off my soapbox on that. I'm not impugning anybody. I'm just saying that I want to make sure that we're getting our value because it's a lot of money,
Yes, it is.
a lot.
Okay.
You have anything else?
No.
Okay. For me, I will just, I would point out, because I get a lot of questions, a lot of folks want to know what's going on with the riders. We continue to work on that diligently. We are working with the landowner, CRM, that owns the property of Grist Mill, on trying to bring in a grocer. I feel as though we're making progress there, and we'll keep, when we can actually update something specifically, we will do so, but I want people to know that it's something that we continue to work on. And obviously our goal there is to have a full-service grocer back in that spot serving the community. In addition, we are up to our elbows in our search for a new administrator. As you know, we have not had an administrator since the beginning of the year, and our searches, we are well into the middle of that. There's interviews going on, and so that is progressing. And my hope would be for us to have a hire by the end of this month, with somebody starting by the middle of April at the latest, maybe a little sooner if we get lucky. Once we are able to announce something on that, we will do so as well. I'm kind of blending that right into administration.
Yeah.
You can do that report?
I am doing that report, yes, yes.
How did things go this morning for you?
Well, it did not go well. Yes, I came in, as you know, at 7:30 to pick up some paperwork as it related to our Joint Economic Development District, and found out that my code no longer, for whatever reason, after some updates, did not turn off the alarm. Here, it no longer affected that. So, as I stood here in the building with alarms blaring,
I usually, when that usually happens to me, I just call the administrator and they help me out.
well,
You decided to call me.
yeah, I called you, and then it turns out your code that didn't work. But that was probably because once it was already blaring and going off, I was just, pressing buttons trying to make it stop. So I called Chief, and he was nice enough to call the sheriff's office and let him know that there was not something nefarious going on here in the building at 7:30 this morning. It was just
Charges have been dropped.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chief Liam Bruno, to letting me off the hook on that one. In my defense, it wasn't a B&E. My code to get in the door worked perfectly. It was just the alarm once I got in here. So yes, that was a little bit of excitement to start my day. I have nothing else to report from an administrative standpoint. We continue to tread water with the help of our consultant, Rita McMahon, on our administrative functions, and I think things are actually going pretty well.
Yeah, she's doing that.
Considering that we don't have an administrator. So next up is going to be Fire Department with the aforementioned Chief Sabo.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So for the month of February, we had 184 incidents, 437 year-to-date. We had 14 motor vehicle crashes. We gave mutual aid to neighboring communities 22 times. We received mutual aid from neighboring communities 10 times. We performed 68 basic rescues and 64 paramedic rescues. Our Fire Prevention Bureau was busy once again with 2 plan reviews, 29 inspections, annual inspections, 5 follow-up inspections, 12 fire protection system testing, and 1 license inspection. We rented 2 additional Knox boxes, residential lock boxes, and we gave 2 group educational events. The fire department wants to extend its many thanks to 17 local businesses who responded to the annual fire prevention donation drive. Every year we solicit local businesses to help offset the costs and that are incurred through our public education programs. Together they raised $1,550. And all that goes right back to giving it back to the community, the children and the programs that are involved, combined with our aluminum can collection, and it helps us throughout the year. So if please the board, I'd like to individually point out who the contributors were this year. Accurate Landscaping, B.B. Bradley, Coleridge School, Chickanetti Insurance, LLC, Ranpack, Spats Cafe, St. Gabriel Church, Cometic Gasket, Dr. Levine, Regal, and Schneider, Hannon Electric, Pub Frado, Precious Care Assisted Living, Tony's Mug and Brush, Vista Springs, Big Creek Vet Hospital, Seaver Security, and William D. Nelson, LLC DDS. So we'd like to certainly extend our thanks to all of them and their generosity each year. So
Indeed, that's having wonderful community partners such
Absolutely.
as those individuals and businesses is always greatly appreciated.
if it is okay, we have multiple incidents on I-90.
You are dismissed.
Can I be dismissed?
You are
Thank
dismissed, sir. Thank you.
That's too
So
bad.
for those of you watching live, avoid I-90.
Right.
It sounds like the weather has deteriorated badly out there on those stretches that we all know all too well. So
Are we on Sirius XM? Are we on Sirius XM here?
I don't think we are. I don't know.
We can get that.
Yeah. It's the traffic updates.
Traffic
I don't believe
updates.
Concord Township is elevated to Sirius XM traffic updates yet.
Nope.
Probably ought to be for the winter, however. Okay, next up is Frank Krascom to talk to us about this weather we're having.
Well, actually, the snow has stopped, although what happened was the temperature dropped.
It's frozen.
Everything
now.
that was really
Slick.
wet got really, really slick, so.
Yeah.
Even coming in myself on some of the county roads, it was experiencing some, you have to take it easy, take your time,
That doesn't surprise
give
me.
yourself extra time, that sort of thing, so. Anyways, this evening, good evening, I'm gonna kind of give a little refresher. It might seem a little mundane, but for those, we get a lot of phone calls regarding road conditions, both in repairs and in snow and ice. So just for everyone to get a little better idea of the roads in Concord, I want to kick off this evening's report with some information regarding Concord Township roadways and the management of their current conditions. And I say current conditions. This winter's variety of precipitation, fluctuation of temperature, use of road salt, which clearly extenuates constant freeze and thaw of road surfaces, contributes to a complex variety of structural change that in turn leads to decomposition of road surfaces throughout our community. This is further progressive where volume of traffic amplifies that process, leading to the dreaded chuck holes you may experience while traveling this time of the year. In regards to the response, I want to remind those traveling within Concord that there are 3 road departments that maintain various sections of road within Concord. The state of Ohio takes care of Johnny Cake Ridge Road, Route 84, Concord Hamden Road, Route 608, Painesville Warren Road, Route 86, State Route 44, and State Route 90. Lake County Road Department takes care of Auburn Road, Carter Road, Chestnut Street, Cryle Road, Girdled Road, Ravenna Road, Prouty Road, Morley Road, Button Road, Old Johnny Cake Road, Pinecrest Road, Hermitage Road, Williams Road, and the eastern portion of Huntoon Road. These are all what you would consider collector roads. When they leave our streets, the side streets and the subdivisions, that's where all the cars collect on their way to the major thoroughways. Concord Service Department oversees all the other streets, subdivisions, and cul-de-sacs within the community. We regularly inspect all of the side streets and patch areas of concern as needed. Further, we are scheduling to have the side streets swept to clean up the variety of debris which has accumulated over the winter months And this spring and early summer, we will begin an aggressive response to maintenance of areas with progressive deterioration by crack sealing and durapatching. As for the state of Ohio and Lake County road departments, although we do not have control of their response to maintenance, we do relay information to them regarding road conditions as we may observe it or it is reported to us. Residents can contact any of these agencies or the sheriff's office if conditions warrant that attention. As for February, winter was winter. Our service department dispatched crews on 22 occasions in response to snow and ice conditions. During those activities, we dispensed approximately 975 tons of salt, which brings our season total at this point to 2,440 tons, or approximately 94% of our yearly average of usage. Winter may not be quite over, so we continue to urge residents that commute during the unfavorable conditions to allow added time to your road travel plans for a safe drive. Here's hoping for spring, and with this being the Irish month, I would like to paraphrase novelist C.S. Lewis and a saying that he had. He said, "You're never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream." Please visit our township website for regular updates, current events, and related information. In closing, we wish all of our residents well and thank you for your continued support of our efforts.
Thank you, Frank. Screw tape letters. That's my favorite C.S. Lewis book. Heather Freeman, zoning.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so during the month of February, the zoning department issued 14 zoning permit applications and collected $3,900 in fees. The breakdown of permits included 8 for new single-family dwellings, 1 fence, 1 pool, 2 accessory buildings, 1 commercial building alteration, which was the build-out for Subway that's being constructed at the Crowd Crossing Retail Center, and 1 change in use permit. Last night at the zoning commission meeting, the zoning commission conditionally approved the site plan review and design review application for the Holiday Inn Express that's proposed on Gold Court. They also accepted and scheduled a public hearing for a zoning text amendment application, which will take place on April 3rd at 7 p.m. The board also held a work session to discuss the Town Hall neighborhood and Town Hall Commons districts. Next week, on Wednesday, March 14th, the Board of Zoning Appeals will have their regular scheduled meeting at Town Hall at 7 p.m. They'll be hearing 1 variance request for additional outdoor dining seating for the Chipotle that is currently under construction at Crowd Crossing. And as always, feel free to contact the zoning department for more information on any of these agenda items, or if you have any other zoning-related questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
I would like to point out, because we've had several inquiries in the last week, be it emails or via social media, and 1 hard copy letter. The cluster housing that's you see a signage for on Cryle Road is in fact Quail Hollow Development Phase 11, and is part of the original master plan that was approved in the early 1980s. I know I've had a lot of people reaching out to me saying, please oppose this housing project on Cryle Road. It won't actually be on Cryle. The road will actually cut into Quail, but it is actually a portion of Quail, and the houses are, from my understanding, priced in the mid-300s. And so it is part of the Quail Hollow PUD development, not some sort of separate standalone multifamily development. I know there's some confusion out there.
Those were all approved back in the 80s.
Right.
Yep.
And out on Cryle Road, portion of it is a commercial component of it. And
Yes.
again, that's also part of the Quail Hollow PUD as well. And so the commercial portion, I'm not sure they have any plans as of yet, but the commercial portion will be done pursuant to what was approved back in the 80s as well.
And according to development, the commercial portion would come after they've they've made progress on the residential portion.
Benefit is though that will go all the way through into Quail Hollow, and you'll have another exit or ingress and egress
Yep.
to the Quail Hollow subdivision.
Is that Quail Hollow Drive that will be extended?
Hunting Lake.
It's Hunting Lake, okay, yeah. Hunting Lake that will now extend out to Cryle and allow for that ingress, egress out of Quail Hollow, so alleviate some of that traffic, I think, through Friedel. So I know there's been some questions about it and what that is. And just so everybody knows, after that phase, there are still 3 other phases of Quail Hollow that have not been developed yet. And so there undoubtedly, at some point in the future, will be more. So there are actually, after phase 11, there are 3 more phases of Quail, which is, it's amazing to believe that Quail is still not built out and done yet. Just kind of put that out there because I know there's been questions about it. Recreation Department. Deborah, come on down.
Good evening, everybody. The Concord Township Recreation Department is pleased to announce the March class schedule at the Community Center. This month, our classes include martial arts with a focus on karate for kids and adults, pound exercise classes, tai chi, mixed media painting, an embroidery sampler class, a watercolor pencil mandala workshop, a kids cooking class focusing on Easter delights, an adult cooking class celebrating the cuisine of Morocco, photography from A to Z, Microsoft Windows for adults, getting started with Medicare, and the basics of genealogy presented by the Morley Library. So we've got a pretty decent, robust schedule to choose from. Information on all of our classes and more can be found in the winter-spring edition of the Township newsletter, the Concord Grapevine, and also online at concordtwp.com, or simply call the Recreation Department and we'd be happy to help you. This afternoon, our 55-plus group was fascinated by local historian Dennis Sutcliffe and his tales of the sordid events that occurred at the iconic corridor of Cleveland's East 105th Street and Euclid Avenue. The next event specifically planned for our 55-plus residents will be Wednesday, March 21st, when the Forever Young Tappers entertain us with song and dance. Our senior events are free, and they're a great way to do something different and just enjoy the company of friends. Your Concord Township Recreation Department is collaborating with the Mentor Public Library and the Morley Library to bring residents a book club at the community center. This month, the book club meets on March 13th and will discuss The Girl in Hyacinth Blue by Susan Vreeland. Copies of this book are available for loan from the community center during business hours, which are 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can sign up for the book club when you pick up your copy of the book, or just call us to make arrangements. And kids and their adults are invited to enjoy a hippity-hoppity good time at the Township's annual Easter egg hunt on Saturday, March 24th at the ball field on the Town Hall campus at 7229 Ravenna Road. The hunt begins promptly at 11 a.m. and takes place rain or shine or sleet or snow, so please dress the little ones accordingly, especially those little feet, because the field may be muddy. So meet the Easter Bunny and his new and totally not scary outfit, tour a fire truck, and maybe even win a prize. Thanks to First Federal Lakewood Bank in Concord and the Texas Roadhouse Restaurant for sponsoring our hunt this year. And also thanks to several very generous Concord residents who donate thousands of Easter eggs for the hunt. Save the date of Saturday, August 11th for Concord's annual community-wide celebration of our township, Concord Community Day. Planning is underway and we are seeking volunteers and sponsors to participate in this special celebration. You can check out the full Community Day schedule in the summer edition of the Grapevine, due in homes the first week of May. And another exciting occasion happens only a few years away in 2022 when Concord Township celebrates its bicentennial. The kickoff meeting for the Bicentennial Planning Committee is Wednesday, April 18th. If you'd like to be a part of the planning or implementation process, please contact the trustees or the Recreation Department for details. We encourage everyone to sign up to receive Concord Township's monthly electronic newsletter, the e-Grapevine, which can be emailed directly to your inbox the first Friday of every month. Our e-Grapevine is a concise blast of information about township happenings a month at a time. Sign up to receive the e-Grapevine through our website or call the Recreation Department and we can help you through it. For more information on events and classes, volunteer or sponsorship opportunities, please contact the Recreation Department at 440-639-4650 or visit concordtwp.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Deborah, I want you to know, when I was down at the Ohio Township Association annual meeting in Columbus at the end of January, I was meeting with township, some folks from a township in Northeast Ohio, that this year is their bicentennial. And they were scrambling to try to organize stuff. And they were starting now.
Not the way to
And
go.
I told them, I said, well, we have our first planning meeting for 2022 coming up in a couple of months, and they were envious of that level of organization. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, and I'm so excited about this planning meeting. We've been talking a little bit throughout the last year on events and happenings, and it's going to be fantastic. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, so thank you.
Do we know what day in 1822?
We don't. We have
It was in March, wasn't
the
it?
belief is sometime in March, but our historical research has not been able to yet
A date.
unearth if there's a specific date when it occurred. So maybe we'll get that answer. Can I put that on your plate?
I guess we'll look for it. I got some docs at home.
Got a box.
Yeah, I got a box of papers.
Oh, jeez.
I know Deborah's done some research. I know, Rosemore and others, and Dan Maxon have done a lot of work, and we just don't have an actual date yet. Maybe we will, and hopefully, if we do, we'll. It's a lot like 4th of July. That was not actually the day that everything was signed.
Right.
Congress actually established July 4th. Maybe we'll have to take action and just pick a day. So.
Memorialization, what these.
That's
when
right.
they do
As
that
you like
day.
to say, yes, memorialization, right. Next up is the Concord Law Enforcement Report. Chief Leon Bruno, we are thrilled to have you here.
Yeah, I was excited to come. I couldn't make it to the fire chief's annual celebration there. Oh, he's back. Oh, never mind.
Annual, he's a fire chief. That's like weekly, I think.
Couple things for February. There were 1,264 calls or events for the month that we were involved in Concord. There were 2 injury accidents, 6 property damage accidents, 2 OVI arrests, 1 domestic violence, and 1 arrest for a CCW violation, carry a concealed permit. There were 54 alarms we responded to. We checked 300 businesses, or checked in on 300 times on various businesses in Concord to make sure everything was going okay. Did 246 crime preventions, checking on open doors, lights inside vehicles being on, construction sites and what have you. We did a lot of traffic. There were 31 citations and 142 warnings in February. We're investigating 8 thefts from February, 1 burglary, 1 sex offense, 3 threat calls, and 1 stolen vehicle. We put out on our website and on it's an attachment on Facebook is we have our 2017 annual road patrol report, so anyone can go there to see these statistics. For Concord in 2017, we were involved in 17,844 calls here in Concord. But I'd like to explain that a little bit because it says Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 when you go to the website. Part 1 and Part 2 are actual crimes. And those are Part 1 and 2 crimes under the FBI statutes that we report under the Uniform Crime Report. So Part 1 would be homicides, rapes, robberies, assaults, burglary. Of those, there were 286 Part 1 crimes last year in Concord, just 286. There were 473 Part 2 crimes, which would be forgery, embezzlement, vandalism, drug abuse, liquor law violations, driving under the influence, those types of crime violations. When it says Part 3 that there were 17,000, that's not 17,000 crimes. That's business checks, that's responding to traffic issues, traffic accidents, business checks, and those types of things in Concord. So there weren't 17,000 crimes that occurred in Concord Township. I just want to make that clear out of those statistics.
17,000 service calls of
Calls
some
that
nature.
so that
action
deputy
on.
sheriffs responded to something or initiated a call like a business check in Concord. So you can see that on our annual report. It's on our website and readily available. Wanted to talk, it's IRS tax season, so for people to be aware of the various IRS scams that are going on. We always caution people, don't give out your personal information. IRS will not ask for your social security number or your bank accounts, will not call and say they're Captain Carl Dondorfer and they're ready to arrest you, which some have done that in terms of the scams. But there's an interesting scam that's out there this year that I wanted to make people aware of, is they get people's returns by capturing their information, and scammers will apply for their tax return. And then they will deposit that because they've stolen someone else's bank account, and they'll deposit that money into somebody's bank account. So money will show up in your bank account, and you don't know where it is. It says you've got an IRS tax refund. Well, if it wasn't coming to you, it's really not yours. What the scammers will do is they'll call you up and pretend they're the IRS, say they're going to arrest you with a warrant for tax fraud, but you can get out of that if you send the money to their tax collection agency. And so that's really their bank account. So if you find money showing up in your account that's really not yours from the IRS, contact the IRS directly. Don't listen to people calling over the phone. And last thing, in 2014, in response to all the community police confrontations that were occurring, Governor Kasich started the Ohio Collaborative, which was a group of judges, attorneys, legislators, law enforcement, community, people from the community, to look at better ways for police to respond. And they developed a 24-member panel that has the Ohio Collaborative, and their whole effort is to try to come up with a standard for everyone in terms of their policies to approach various issues, and for everyone to at least be at that standard or above. And so they've been taking topics for the last couple years. So they've done use of force, use of fatal force, hiring, and this year, community engagement and telecommunicator training, looking at dispatching and how that's done. We were quickly certified every year in this Ohio Collaborative because we participate, and they found that our policies are at the minimum and usually far exceed what the collaborative expects for response to the community. So we just posted that for this year's provisional certification in the Ohio Collaborative.
Tom, you have a question?
No.
No?
Well, no, not really.
Comment?
No, I was going to ask him if his presence here counted in that 17,000 calls.
No, I did not take a number for it,
Okay,
but I
thank you.
can't.
No, no,
No,
okay,
I did
that's all.
not take a number.
All right.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, that's going to bring us to the audience portion. I see we have some Boy Scouts. Is this part of a badge? So what we do for Boy Scouts and students is we have you come up, introduce yourself to everybody out in TV land, and then tell us why you're here and tell us about the project and the badge you're working on. Also, that way your
There's
your
proof
troop
that,
leader will know you were here because it's
Yeah.
on TV.
I
Mr. Blair was the one who drove us here, so.
Okay, then he knows anyway, right?
Alright, my name is Nick Tilk, and this is my brother AJ. We're from Boy Scout Troop 62, based over in the Painesville United Methodist Church. Here we're currently working on our Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge, basically, as well as communications, for both of which we need to attend a local meeting, like this Board of Trustees meeting, a school board meeting, or something of the sorts, to better figure out issues going on with our community, find out how we can help with those issues, and what's actually being done to solve said things. Other things required are like make a map of the community and label certain areas, fire departments, police buildings, other public offices and whatnot. Other parts include, words and language. Give me a minute. There we go. Other parts include where an individual, we had to research a movie on where an individual or group of such would go around and change their community for the better, work of fiction, real life, something of the sort. Books could be used as well. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're working on at the moment. As
communications is basically write speeches, present the speeches to your counselor, whichever merit badge has a counselor, to sign off on all the requirements, make sure you get it, to write speeches and research different forms of communication and basically just learn about it.
Got it. Well, thanks for coming tonight. We're glad to have you here. Thanks for all your hard work. Appreciate it. If you need us to sign anything or do anything, let us know. We're happy to do that after the meeting. Okay, any other audience members wish to address the board?
Good evening.
Evening.
How's everybody?
Great.
I have a couple of questions.
For the record,
Oh, for the record.
we know who you are, but...
Chris Brill Packard. I live on Concord Hampton Road. I've been a resident for 24 years. I've seen a lot of growth in the area, and some of the things that continue to concern me that I would like the board to address a little more formally when we make changes for zoning, projects, development. Issues of water and water erosion, flooding of residents' homes that have been in existence for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. We see more and more development up Concord, Hamden, Girdled Road, Summerwood. And I've talked to the county water district several times, and it seems like nobody seems to have a very good handle on controlling water. It seems like we have a lot of situations where our retention ponds are undersized. We do not have curbs really going in some developments. We have drains that are not there because the developers got zoning approved without it. So erosion is a constant, continuing battle. And I'm very concerned with the process of the school going in on Concord Hampden Road and hearing of the fact that there's going to be 29 mounds for septic. And that property, from what I remember when we talked about the Summerwood development and those projects, is that there's a lot of water creeks in that property of Concord Hampden up to where Summerwood development is, where the farm is, and back through Hermitage, there's heritage, artesian wells. Nobody knows the mapping of this water. Water is going to flow in the direction of where gravity takes it. And so my question is, what is the board and this township and the township zoning and the zoning board of appeals doing as a collective to work with the water district to prevent future homes being flooded or losing their water when there's no sewer and water to those homes and they're living off of water wells? Now, I have lived many years in a country, and I've grew up in townships all my life. So I'm very familiar with what happens to areas where all of a sudden you lose your well. And people have to buy water and have it trucked in and have to have pigs put in. So I'm very concerned when, especially when we have some of the hardest soil in Lake County. It is total hard rock, cement, clay. And where does water go? It's going to run. And we don't seem to be, whenever I talk to people, they're at a loss, but we allow the development to continue, and we flood other people's homes or their property. And I'm wondering what will happen to the homes around the school development in their process. Will we, as a community, will the township, because of the approval process through the zoning and the zoning board of appeals, be responsible and liable for lawsuits to move those people out of their homes, like we did the people on Concord Hampton Road, where you actually went and got a grant for homes that were constantly flooding due to the Cali Wood and that other development upstream that raised the creek bed, and homes that never flooded were flooding 4, 5, 6, 7 times a year. I would really like to hear what the board has to say as to what are you doing to really control water as you continue to develop this township.
Well, I will tell you that we do about $4.5 million in stormwater projects were performed, and it may be about $2.5 million to $3 million in purchases of property so that we could flood. So that's the monies that recently this board has spent in controlling stormwater.
But what happens when you have a home that's already 700,000? Just one. Those are possibilities. Are we going to be held responsible as a township? And will those dollars be?
Township can't be held responsible. And there's already been suits, and they were found not to be held responsible. The township, the job is to deal with zoning, and there are times where developments go in or things occur that are well beyond the township's control. It's a limited form of government. You know, some people are allowed to do what they want to with their property. We attempt to control that as best we can. Recently, we've put in provisions with the 75-foot setbacks from water features.
Right, setbacks.
And we've installed those that were, there are a significant amount of developers that are not very happy with us in doing that, but we put those in.
May I ask a question, though?
Sure.
I would just like verification. I have heard, though, that through the Zoning Board of Appeals, most of our setbacks have been amended so that the builder gets to build closer to those creeks than what our zoning board is. So the Zoning Board of Appeals continues to override that setback.
I wouldn't say they override it. They make adjustments for builders that purchase property, had plans to do it prior to us installing that legislation. And they make their appeals, and some are granted and some aren't. But those were cases that were kind of purchased, planned for, platted, and then our legislation came in and kind of circumvented some of what their plans were. The Board of Zoning Appeals made some adjustments to those things.
The concern was, and we knew this going into the riparian setback legislation, was that there would be some developments that were already purchased, planned, and platted that the legislation would potentially affect. But the legislation was important enough to us from a going forward standpoint. We knew that there would be those that were already in existence would come looking for appeals to our new legislation. And I don't think that it's unreasonable or inappropriate for the BZA to take into consideration that something had already been planned when we passed legislation. We knew that going in, that some things were going to be in essence kind of grandfathered from a standpoint
That
of
often.
it was already in place. There were legal concerns that, you know, that we would need to look at that from a lenient standpoint, lest we open ourselves up to that liability that you ask about in terms of lawsuits. In fact, we have one lawsuit going on right now with a developer over riparian setbacks. So that's, those that have occurred to this point have not been on new developments, they've been on ones that were already in existence and lots that had already been platted. And then therefore our legislation came in after the fact, and so the developers came forward and said, well, you're taking out things that have already planned, so it's a reasonable.
Yeah.
The other issue was, and it's kind of like part two, is because you have stormwater issues, and then we have actual water, meaning, you know, for, you know, potability, for drinking water. And I grew up in a house that had a well, and the well went dry, and they eventually tapped into utility, the water utility. But this portion of the township the development was allowed not based upon the fact that there was zoning changes, but based upon the fact that sewer came here and water came over here. And so when those utilities got to the township, or got to other portions of the township, and I generally think of it as the southern portion of the township, it allowed for additional development beyond, the trustees' ability to stop that well before we were here. The water and sewer that came to the southern portion, Far Hills, right around in this area, got here probably in mid to late 70s and early 80s. So those things were kind of already plotted, and that allowed for that development to occur.
Let me tackle couple
Well-
things you addressed.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, the one, as you know, we're in litigation on the school. I think some of the issues that you've outlined in terms of your concerns about the school are in part why the Board of Zoning Appeals denied their conditional use permit application. We can't really speak to the school specifically at this time based on the fact that still is within legal. I would say, though, that I don't believe that we would have any township liability based on how that process has transpired, nor also based on the fact that the school is a governmental agency. So a township can't be held liable for another governmental agency in terms of what they choose to do. Beyond that, the issues that you raise are, like all things, they are not simplistic or cut and dry. As you know, having grown up and lived in townships your whole life, as Paul mentioned, township government is very limited under Ohio Revised Code in terms of what we can and can't regulate. So it's not a matter of just this board on a whim deciding, well, we just want to go ahead and do X, Y, and Z. There's zoning in place. Our ability to affect things is through zoning. When you talk about subdivision design, stormwater design, those things under the law fall to the county. That's a township. Unlike a city, they don't fall within our realm. They fall to the county. The county has their own standards as to how these things are to be designed. I will tell you that my opinion is that those standards are, for the most part, in my opinion, lacking.
That's why we spent $4.5 million in stormwater
Well,
projects.
it's, right, and the problem is that that's after the fact, once
Sure.
it's a problem.
Sure.
My opinion, and this would have been something that the county should have undertaken 20, 30 years ago, but of course, people didn't think in those terms. My opinion has always been that as density increases in a community, your stormwater problems increase, because you're taking away non-permeable surface area, you're putting more volume. In Concord's case, we don't have storm sewers for the most part, we have creeks and swales, and that's where ditches, and that's where the water is part of these stormwater regulations from the county. That's where stormwater is mitigated to. So those things, that's what's happened down by you, and the flooding that those property owners those natural systems are overwhelmed by the increased volume of water. My opinion is that as a township or a community gets more dense and more development, the proper approach would have been for a sliding scale of more and more stringent stormwater standards and mitigation standards for stormwater as new developments come in. So as you get more and more development, those standards get tighter, causing those future developments to have to do more, larger retention ponds, more processes to managing that. But that hasn't happened from a county standpoint. It's still the same standards.
Well, that's part of my question is.
The standards are still the same as they were in
board-
1995.
What is the board doing to work with the county to help push them to understand that this part of the county does have some unique land geographical descriptions like ravines, creeks, swamp. We have a lot of water actually in this part of the county. And I don't believe most people are really looking at the water erosion. And when I talk to the soil district and the water district, they say, well, we look at averages for rainfall. Now, I've been sending photos to the water district when we get 1 inch of water, what it does to just nearby here, where everything comes out of the ditch. Just last week we had water on Concord Hamden Road leaving both sides of the ditch, leaving just this little part of the hill. And it was to the point where it would almost hydroplane your car. And that was just a heavy storm. That was just one short burst. And we've been having a lot more bursts. And our average rainfall in each storm is increasing.
We have more violent.
More violent. And so we're getting more impact on that. And it's going to continue. So I'd like to just formally ask the board and the zoning board and the zoning board of appeals to look more at water and water issues, because I'm more of the belief that if you build a piece of property, you should retain all your water on your property. And most of the time, I'm seeing people put gutters towards their neighbor's house, so the water's going right to the neighbor. You can walk through any neighborhood and watch construction, and that occurs on a regular basis. And, they bury the drain in the gutter, and it's pointed right at the neighbor's house.
Sure, we have illegal tie-ins to storm sewers that go on.
So I'd like a little more formal of that. And then I know in October, I'm going to bring up a totally separate issue. I brought it to your attention, Mr. Galloway, about Concord Hamden Road having 2 separate speed limits. And I know it's controlled by ODOT. And it's a real issue because people tend to think it's the same speed both ways when it's not.
Right.
I can't believe that this road, it's been that way since I've lived here, 2 speed limits. And I also want to bring it to the attention, and I know I've called the deputy chief in the past, because I'm paying for sheriff's coverage, and the truck traffic speeding issue on Concord-Hamden Road has escalated to the point where most of us living on that section of road between Ravenna and Girdled are leery of pulling out of our driveways. We are getting honked at when we're trying to make a turn into our driveway. We're getting some driver in a semi giving us the finger because we have to slow down to get in or out of our driveway. We've had close calls. In fact, one of my neighbors just recently had a semi fully loaded coming down from Girdle Road and cut off the school bus that was making a right-hand turn onto Concord-Hamden from Williams Road. She was going to make a left-hand turn into her driveway and saw a semi coming straight at her. Morning traffic. She had to dive towards the ditch to make enough room for this semi to get around the bus and her. Now, this is starting to happen on a regular basis. And it's not just me and my neighbor, it's multiple neighbors all having the same experience. And it's getting really out of hand. And I can't believe that when I call for the sheriff to come out between 4:30 a.m. and 8 a.m., that we can't get somebody out there periodically out of 365 days a year. And
I'll respond to that. I did receive her calls, and we've done 3 different traffic enforcements during those times where deputies have sat there for 2-hour periods on 3 different occasions, and we did not record any speeding trucks through that area.
I wish you were there this morning at 5.
Pardon?
I wish you were there at 5 o'clock this morning. I mean, it just,
I'm not saying they don't ever speed,
Yeah.
but we did respond to your complaint.
Thank you.
And did have 3 separate 4-day periods.
okay.
Chief, will you, in the next 2 weeks, will you task somebody for that, for the next 2 weeks? Do that each morning? Our
Absolutely.
Concord car?
And then it's not just in the morning. These same semis going back to their depot in Clarendon, Middlefield, between 2 and 4, they're beelining it back. And it's a common occurrence, and I really don't understand why they even want to go down the hill on Concord-Hamden Road at the ski hill. I have no idea why you would want semis going down that way.
Are they trying
Especially
to get to,
on these traffic.
Are they trying to get to like 90 or something, or what are they?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's their way not to pass by our sheriff. They don't have to go 44 and pass them in Chardon, you know, so they come up 608.
Chief, maybe as part of this, can we get an inventory, and Captain Dondorfer may already have some of that, because he and I had talked about it previously. Some of the trucking companies that are servicing that, or the quarry companies themselves that truck that, maybe a letter from the sheriff's department to those companies, letting them know that there's going to be active enforcement and that it's being taken seriously by Concord Township.
Sure, we can do that.
You know, these speeding trucks up and down this road. In relation to the difference in the speed limit, after we talked, I went out there and looked at it. I did send an email to the ODOT person who handles that stuff, and I'm guessing they have not done anything with it. So I will follow up on that. I do know that right after we talked and I sent that email, that fellow actually left District 12 that handles that. So there was like 2 months after that, there was no person in that job. So I will follow up on that communique myself and ask them to correct the various speed limit, the north, south, or the east, I guess it's east, west, difference. I will follow up on that communication again and ask them.
I'd
to
appreciate
address
it, because it is getting to be, the more development, the more cars, and the more, well, I'm just following the next guy.
Right.
And I have a lot of cars following those semis, doing the same speed. And it's like, okay. And I've even had my next door neighbor across the street from me already get hit, but he got the ticket because he was pulling out of his driveway. But he had a guy who actually slid over 100 feet because he could not stop. And he didn't see his lights because he was in that little dip. You get a dark, rainy morning, there you go.
All right.
Somebody will be killed. So I appreciate your follow-up.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to address the board? No? Okay. I will move on from the audience portion. That's going to bring us to old business. We had a public hearing and then for application 1217. This is requesting a zoning map amendment. You have that in front of you. Just for the record, this was a recommendation for approval from the County Planning Commission, a recommendation for denial from the Township Zoning Commission, and we also have a staff recommendation for denial on the application. What I would ask is if either of you have any questions in terms of the application, anything else that maybe was not covered under the public hearing. Is there any discussion and deliberation? I'm thinking maybe some is warranted. And
Let me ask the question first. Mike, a motion, if made, would be a motion to approve the denial of the zoning amendment?
That's correct.
That's
It's
correct.
recommended by the,
Right.
approve the recommendation.
Motion
approve the recommendation to deny
Mm-hmm.
the zoning map.
Yeah, it has to be a positive.
Yes.
So no vote would be yes.
So let me just, and let me get you the thought process I'm going through. My feeling on it is, on its face value, it's spot zoning. And generally, it's recommended that townships reject spot zoning. I do know that we have a zoning text amendment on the town hall neighborhood that is working its way towards us. It's currently in front of the zoning commission.
Right.
I believe they had a work session on it last night, is that correct? And then they're setting a public hearing.
Yeah, they set the public hearing for that. The work session was planned before that application came in. So we had a brief discussion during our work session, not looking at the amendment, obviously, and decided to table that discussion until these other applications went through the process.
Okay. So that's going to go through the zoning commission and the county planning commission. The zoning text that was brought forward by Mr. Summers, who acquired the property on the south side of Concord Hampton, directly across from the property in question on this application. I guess I'm looking at it two ways, and I guess if one considers what's in front of us, and I believe that we are, of course, kind of like to say the devil is in the details, that we are inclined to probably allow some usage as proposed in that zoning text. We'll see what eventually comes to this body. That's a change that we would be open to considering. We might make some changes therefore to the actual zoning text itself, which would allow for what the applicant is wanting to do, but that could be several months off. And also, we do not know the actual outcome, because we may not get a positive recommendation from the zoning commission or the planning commission as it relates to doing that very thing. And to be honest, part of me thought, because I don't find the applicant's request to be egregious in any way, shape, or
Well, there's a
form.
residential house there
It really
now.
is. There's a
Right.
residential
You know, I mean,
house
it's-
there now.
I appreciate
My,
what you.
my problem is the spot zoning. And part of what I thought about today when pondering this was, would I vote to approve it, allow him to move forward, and if we then made the changes to the zoning text town hall neighborhood, in order to eliminate the spot zoning, we could turn around and then rezone the property back after he's back to town hall and eliminate the spot zoning. I don't know how our legal counsel feels about a maneuver like that. Certainly very unorthodox, and it makes me a little leery, because these are two separate matters, and we have one definitive in front of us and one is a maybe, an if come. So that may be, to be frank, and I'm speaking out loud, and is just, sort of thinking out loud, is that might be a little too slick. Creative, but maybe too slick. Because I am sympathetic to the applicant.
We're not making it, well, it's hard for me to call it spot zoning if it was just an island to itself, but there's already a residential home there. There is R1, 2 parcels away.
There's R1 in the area, there's
Yeah,
R4 in the area,
and-
there's R3 in the area, and I understand.
Yeah, and the area hasn't taken off like we thought it was
And
gonna
that's
take
going
off.
to say, the zoning that's in place was put there for a purpose which never materialized. And the area feels residential to me.
Right. Heather, will you give us some insight on, because you were there for the zoning commission's deliberations on this, will you give us some insight as to what their thought processes were on this denial? Because it was a 4-to-1 vote, is that correct?
That's right.
Yes.
Just a generalization of what that discussion was and how they came to that conclusion in terms of.
I guess I could take a shot at just summarizing. Just to summarize, I think the application came in front of the zoning commission, which really got their eyes focused on the whole town hall neighborhood district. I felt like the general consensus of most of the members was, if we rezone this 2 acres to R1, there's this idea of the spot zoning, and then what happens with the town hall that's surrounding it, because there still is a strip to the east of this that is between the town hall commons where the church is. And I think that they were in agreement that a residential would probably be suitable in this area. However, they were apprehensive on approving this and not looking at the whole picture. And they wanted to kind of take a step back and really be able to look at it in a comprehensive way, and how does this tie in with the overall plan for the area.
Well, and much like my concern about how the use would fit if there were changes made to the town hall neighborhood and allowing a residential component, as has been proposed through a zoning text amendment. What if there is no change made to the town hall, and then we have this property with residences, and then still with a commercial use now all around it.
Right, yeah, that would be likely.
And again,
possible.
not tackling it from a district-wide means could leave that property very much now exposed to, if somebody came in and wanted to now build, a school behind it, some other use.
Yeah, I mean, you could build a retail center.
A retail
Under
center,
town hall neighborhood,
Yeah,
so.
there's a whole bunch of, there's a whole table of uses
Yeah.
that I think that people might find offensive if they bought a home there.
Mhm.
And then suddenly had that right in their backyard, literally.
Right.
So those are and I just wanted to sort of air that, and have you both hear my thought process as both devil's advocate here, both sides.
You do have both sides there.
Yeah, I mean, it's, so that's why I thought maybe a discussion might be in order here. But we have closed the public hearing, so therefore, there needs to be an action on this. There needs to be a vote.
I make a motion to approve the recommendation to deny the zoning amendment application number 1217-1 by Vincent Urick for Seattle Consulting LLC, requesting to rezone 2 acres of land located at 11473 Concord Hampton Road and being current permanent parcel number 08A014000011 from THN Town Hall Neighborhood District to an R1 Residential District.
I'll second that.
Okay, and I will ask if there is any further comments, discussions, or anything along those lines. I would also ask if the applicant wants to make any last-minute comment to what you've heard here. I'll give you that opportunity.
I'm confused, which way are you trying to vote?
Under the rules, our motion has to be one in the affirmative as it relates to the recommendation that was brought to us. That's what we act on. So the recommendation is to deny. So therefore, an aye vote would deny your application. A no vote would,
Approve.
well,
Would allow it.
no, it would deny correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, it would technically deny the
Deny.
recommendation, and then there would have to be a second motion
No,
to,
the yes vote would be to accept the recommendation and deny the variance request.
correct.
A no vote would be to overturn the recommendation of the zoning commission and grant the applicant's request. for
Not
zoning.
requiring another step.
No,
Okay.
So there you have it. Yes is for you, yes is bad, no is good.
got it. I just wanted to point out that in the text for Town Hall neighborhood, there are only 4 permitted uses of the parcel, and none of them are large businesses. I mean, they can do a medical, dental office, administrative business and professional offices, personal services, hair care, dry cleaning, shoe repair, business service center, including mailing and copy centers. So from what I read, it does not permit strip malls or anything to that effect. Is that correct? So,
Well, how those could be housed would be the form of development.
got it. And also, as you guys touched base on a school, I mean, residential properties are right around schools. So that would be a perfect,
I was just
perfect
throwing
place
out
for you guys to
abstract
build your school.
ideas of right.
All right. Thank you. I have nothing else.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Mr. Malczewski?
No further discussion.
Okay. Mrs. Dawson, I would like to ask for a roll call vote on this matter.
Okay, Mrs. Luda,
No.
Mr. Galloway,
Yes.
and Mr. Malczewski.
No.
Okay. So you are approved. And I just, to let you know as it relates to my vote, it was really just from a matter of, I don't really have any issue with what you're trying to do there. It's just more of I would like to see us deal with that from a global standpoint in terms of that entire district, based on the fact that we have other applicants in front of us. So, all right, moving on.
Reason for denial. I have to place a reason for denial.
We have to have a reason for denial. Did one of the two people voting no like to give that denial to Mrs. Dawson for the record?
I'd say it's a good use of the property.
That plus, I can see it,
And there's residential already on it now.
right, that's a good one. Also, I can see down the road that what's coming.
Thank you.
Maybe.
Maybe, I think it's coming.
Connie's experience.
Intuition.
I make a
Yeah.
motion to adopt the February financial statements.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I had,
oh, you have,
after an appropriations hearing and seminar, I have, that we had, I would make a motion to adopt Resolution 2018-12, permanent appropriations.
second,
We have those in front of us, and any further discussion on them? We had a workshop yesterday.
We had a workshop
Right.
that was lengthy
Yes,
Yes.
it was, but actually very much needed and appreciated.
and
Mrs.
some
Dawson's
significant
efforts.
discussion after that, yes.
And I need a roll call vote on that as well.
Mr. Malcheski?
Yes.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mrs. Luda?
yes,
Thank you.
Make a motion to adopt super blanket certificates number 101-2018
To
through
140.
140-2018.
So not 150 as?
No, 140.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
second,
All those in favor? Aye.
aye,
Aye.
Then we need to sign off on that.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2108, or 2001-8-13, to approve the MOU with Liberty Development for the 7-acre parcel. This is a resolution authorizing the Board of Trustees to Concord Township to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Liberty Development Company to provide assistance in the development of the approximate 7 acres of township-owned real property located near intersection off Auburn Road and Capitol Parkway, permanent parcel number 08A02A0000140.
second,
So I have some discussion on that point.
Yes.
Want me to start?
You can start, or I can start.
Okay, basically, the MOU in this resolution in front of us is, as you know, is brought to us, worked through our legal counsel along with Liberty Development. Liberty Development approached us after we closed the RFP process in the fall. They approached us after that and asked if they could work with us on exploring the 7 acres that the township owns in terms of potential development opportunities. And we've had discussion therein, and this agreement would allow them to proceed on those, exploring those development options on the parcel that the township owns.
And I guess I would refer to the agreement that would to assist in creating a vibrant, high-quality development with complements with the best characteristics of the community's architecture and aesthetics, which may include creative tenant mix that serves, supports, and enhance the project site, the JED corridor and the surrounding community, provide visual and symbolic identifiers of the community, provide catalysts for additional development, create positive economic and fiscal benefits for the township, including but not limited to the involvement of the JED in the project, incorporates public space, and uses sustainable best practices, effectively incorporating community feedback into the design.
And I would also point out that it does not obligate the township to any final development project or anything that is brought forward. It's,
This is just to work to continue to create the vision and
Right.
look for that area.
correct.
Another baby step.
The,
Mike, I have in front of us, it looks like a red line copy of the MOU. Is it okay if we sign that one, or do you want us to sign a different one? Well, it doesn't have a red in it, but it's had commas that are underlined. Commas that are underlined.
wanna see it?
So
Send it
probably-
over.
It may be an accidental dated version, so let's have Mike look at it real quick.
Look in the middle of paragraph 1, right next to relevant, comma.
The first paragraph, Paul, or section?
Yeah,
one
first
has-
paragraph.
I don't see any red line.
Well, there's no red line, and they can underline instead. There's probably red line. We don't call it copy machine.
Yeah. That's the only thing that's a hole. Because this is the clean copy, other than that.
I'm good if you're good, Mike.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, then, other than one stray underlining of the letter A, it's good to go in a clean copy. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this resolution and MOU?
No.
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And just to probably note, this also has to be approved by the
Liberty.
JED as well.
That is correct, and the JED will take that up on Friday at 8 a.m. at their regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay. How many copies are there? 3?
I think there's 2.
Two of us.
That's all?
two.
Oh, just 2. Okay.
I'll send it down to you, Connie.
Okay.
I will sign.
While you guys are signing that,
Do you want to skip E and then bring E in at the end?
yeah, we'll do E later. How about a vote for a motion under Resolution 2018-14, contract with Jen McGid, DBA Jen's Cleaning Services. This is a resolution to approve our cleaning services here at Town Hall and throughout the rest of the township facilities. And this individual and our associates have been cleaning the Town Hall as long as I can recall.
Right.
As long as you and I've been around.
Yep. I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What's all this? This is just your stuff.
All right, and
Okay, I am going to swap one out here with you, Paul. This one, you need to
Sure.
get signatures on that.
I make a motion to approve change orders for professional services with Hall and Associates. Halls and Associates is the employer of Robert Parker, who has been doing engineering services for the township,
Our
again,
engineering
for some period of time.
Our
Sec-
engineering consultant.
Yep. Second?
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
And I would also note that he does do some work for us on stormwater issues as well. So that also addresses some of the issues that we've been dealing with in development.
Okay. That's the one you signed.
And you just signed the hall development.
Yep.
All right. You want to table the Metro Parks Greenway corridor, Chris?
Yes, let's go ahead and table that, and we'll move that to old business for our next meeting. We did find, I believe the consensus was from yesterday's staff meeting is that the MOU itself is fine. There was an error on the address on the original one from 2013. And so we will go ahead and get that updated, and then we'll take action on it at our next meeting.
Okay, well, what I have been found at my spot today and on my desk at the office is the cemetery department new rules and regulations effective April 1st. We've had in front of us and reviewed at staff, and I'd make a motion to adopt same.
Second.
Yes, and I want to thank Amy and everyone that was Dan Davis.
Excellent
and
job.
who else?
Karen Warner.
And Karen Warner for their excellent work in updating these regulations, and I reviewed these and don't have any additional thoughts or comments on it.
Right.
So, I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to approve the fire department's permission to advertise for a request for qualifications for a fire station master planning.
Second.
Okay. Discuss it.
I'll be more than happy to discuss it. This is what we're looking to do. Is we've had some suggestions that our humble fire stations need to be revamped, and what we're looking here to do is look at finding individuals out there that may be able to do some of that work for us in that planning stage. And so this is, again, a first of many baby steps to improve our fire stations.
Yes, and it comes as sort of the next step on a report and a study that we commissioned from the Ohio Fire Chiefs to do an analysis of our existing facilities and to present us with recommendations as it relates to those facilities. That document is online, and you can find it on our website. The complete report from the Ohio Fire Chiefs, and this is sort of the next step based on that report back from them, as you outlined, to look at individuals and firms that may be qualified to work with the township and the fire department on the potential plans on those facilities.
And I think as we approach, we've had we certainly have a need for upgrades, and we are certainly very concerned about where we've seen our other townships, other cities making upgrades and what we consider spending way too much money. And so we will approach with caution.
Right.
I don't think there's any denying that our existing two stations are in need of upgrade.
Yeah.
Right. They're very old.
They are old, and they are problematic
60 years old at least.
as it relates to current existing standards and functionality, frankly, and not to mention cost of maintenance and roofs and air conditioners and everything else. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to approve fire department PO 20-2018, physio control in the amount of $6,987.60 for heart monitoring services plan.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to adopt PO 21-2018 Lexi Pole in the amount of $4,480 for integration services.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion on behalf of the service department's permission to advertise for bid the 2018 stone and tar bids.
Second.
All those in favor say
Aye.
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 Excellent. All right, now that's going to bring us to item E,
Right.
which is the sign those. Pending Riverside litigation. We have in front of us, I believe,
Here, pass one down to
Yeah,
Connie.
Connie, here's one for you.
Oh.
Is this the original?
There's three
This is the
originals,
addendum.
Mr.
originals.
Galloway.
This is the addendum. Do we have the?
It's right behind it.
This is right behind.
Oh, they're both
you.
there, okay.
The addendum.
There's one for you, Connie.
The addendum is on top of the original.
Got it.
And Mr. Lucas said he needed 3 original signatures.
I see.
Mr. Galloway, this is, what we have in front of us, is a proposal, approving a settlement agreement that, I have been engaged in, and I know the other trustees have been engaged in. But as we talk about divisional labor in the township, and as trustees, Mr. Lucas and I have been spending some considerable time in discussions with the litigation with Riverside Local School District's Board of Education. Just to remind this board and the general public, Riverside School District some time ago approved a bond that went on our tax rolls this year, recently, as you're starting to get your taxes. That bond was to build additional schools, close some schools, but basically it was their desire to build a school in Concord Township. At the time that bond passed, there was not a designation of where that school was going to be located. And recently, Riverside Local Schools applied to get a conditional use permit for property that it purchased on 608, and that was denied by our Board of Zoning Appeals. That eventually went into litigation. There are 2 matters that are actually pending in litigation. A, whether or not the Board of Zoning Appeals acted appropriately in their denial. I feel may become moot, but if it was litigated and if that was the only litigation that was to take place, I feel confident that our Board of Zoning Appeals acted appropriately. As you mentioned earlier, I think in our discussions of how our work that our Board of Zoning Appeals has done in the past. That being said, though, there is an additional suit out there that requests that the Court of Common Pleas find that the Riverside School District, or Riverside Local School District, is immune from portions of the Concord Township zoning resolutions. I'm familiar with that case law. In fact, there's 12 cases that exist out in the state of Ohio. And based upon my knowledge and based upon previous rulings in Lake County regarding similar law, I have a grave concern that the Riverside Local School District would receive a ruling from Lake County Common Pleas Court that it is immune from portions of Concord Township zoning resolution. And with that knowledge, I present to this board a settlement agreement that was developed with some considerations of getting some concessions from the school district, as well as an addendum based upon, I think, concerns that this board had that were necessary to meet some of the needs and some of the concerns of our neighboring residents. I can give you my opinions of those yet, but I just at least wanted to kind of use that as an opening of what we have in front of us here.
Sure. Connie?
Well, basically, I am very disappointed with the choice of location of that school. Supporting the bond issue was one thing, but but the choice of location, I think, is a very, very poor one. And I'm very disappointed in the decision of the school board. With that said, I think we're stuck with it. Because of the likelihood of the legal climate being what it is.
I do want to thank you and Mr. Lucas for your time on this matter since last fall. Not only in the legal research, but also your time in mediation.
Yes.
Meeting with counsel from Riverside, meeting with Riverside administration, and working with the court on this. What I would say, and I certainly share your sentiments, Connie.
I do too, Connie. I agree with you.
I don't want to say too much because this is still an open matter.
Right.
I'm fine with saying that because we've already been on the record saying that. There is a settlement agreement and an addendum to that settlement agreement in front of us for us to consider and to vote on. And what I will do is ask for a roll call vote. Paul, if you want to
I'll make the
take
motion.
a moment before or after your motion to sort of outline what is in the settlement agreement and the addendum to the settlement agreement. That would be fine with me so that it's available for folks at home. And then I'll go ahead and call for a roll call after we have a motion. And just what this means is if the board approves the settlement agreement and the addendum to the settlement agreement, and Riverside School Board does, the local school district does the same, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they actually already approved the settlement but not the addendum. It would then go to the court for the judge to approve the settlement, so nothing would be official until the court itself rules on the settlement. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Then I have a question.
Sure.
If they have approved the settlement but not the addendum, is there a possibility that they would not approve the addendum?
I don't believe so.
Well, I guess there's always a possibility.
There's always a possibility on anything. The feedback that I received from the Riverside District Attorney, Dave Riley, when we first discussed this addendum provision, is that in an informal discussion with the district, they, as a general proposition, didn't have a problem with it.
It's much like our executive session discussions with Mike.
Yeah, but.
We have to have a discussion and put something in front of both boards.
But that bothers me.
Well, we're only approving a settlement that includes, well, I'll make the motion only to approve the settlement by the agreement of the parties in the court of not only the settlement agreement, but the addendum to the settlement agreement.
Okay.
Do we need two separate motions, one for each?
No, you can put them down. I wanted it as one for the
Okay.
reason Paul mentioned.
That's
This is-
good.
We're not gonna
I wanna-
bifurcate that. It's an all or nothing
Right.
presentation.
Okay, then I feel better. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adopt the settlement agreement, including, not limited to, the addendum to the settlement agreement, which, for the Riverside Local School District Board of Education versus the Board of zoning appeals for Concord Township and Concord Township trustees in case number 17 CV 1654 in front of Judge Collins of Lake County Common Police Court. Said agreement would acknowledge by Concord Township that the Riverside Local School District is immune from portions of the Concord Township zoning resolution, which regulates the use of property in connection with the new school being developed at 12428 Concord Hamden Road. The addition is that there would require Riverside to plant trees along the southern property lines adjacent to the homeowner's western lot line. Those that earth that there would be an earth berm along the northern side of the property. They should plant trees 7 to 8 foot pine and red oak. That the Riverside would consider the purchase of property across the street on Route 608 of a homeowner. There would be additional trees along property boundaries as outlined in the agreement, that the STS field that is proposed, Riverside will put in pine trees 4 foot along the fence or range for a buffer to the left of the identified property. That the baseball field presently planned that would be in the rear of the Summerwood development would no longer be considered at that location by Riverside and taken out of the plans. That we would have payment and performance bond of the construction manager at risk shall meet the requirements of Ohio Revised Code section 153-571 and shall use in the event the contractor defaults to repair, remediate, or replace warranty or defective work. Riverside and Concord representatives will meet monthly during the first 3 months of the new school is open to quarterly thereafter as otherwise agreed in writing during the balance of the first year of operation. Discuss operational issues of the new school. During the second year of operation, Riverside will meet the Concord 2 weeks prior to the school opening to discuss operations procedures for the school. Riverside and Concord will meet with representatives from Lake County Sheriff's Office to discuss the exterior lighting schedule for the school, notwithstanding the foregoing. Riverside agrees in the event the parking lot area will not be lit after 10 p.m. Riverside will install the STS field in compliance with the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, remain in continual compliance with the Ohio EPA. When sanitary sewers become available, the school shall tie in the said system as soon as practicable. I want to also indicate to you that the bonding and the performance bond in section H that I outlined earlier relates to that paragraph. Riverside will do hereby discharges Concord and its agents, servants, and employees personally in any other capacity, claims of action. And then I think most importantly, the addendum outlines a significant concern that we had with regards to contamination of groundwater, that which was mentioned earlier by a resident today. And in consideration of our forethought on that matter, we'd ask that as part of this agreement and settlement would be that the parties acknowledge and agree that there is an active natural spring which is located upon and provides potable water to the real property of 3 parcels, residential parcels located at 12550 Concord Hamden Road, State Route 608. The relevant permanent parcel numbers are located inside that paragraph of the agreement. Parties further acknowledge and agree that in order to ensure and protect the natural spring as a sole and exclusive source of potable water for that property, or in the alternative, providing the ongoing uninterrupted availability of the potable water for that property in the event of any adverse interruption to or elimination of the natural spring source of potable water, if such events would occur or action would occur, and they will arrange for quality testing of that potable water to denote what it is. That potable water will be tested. There's a first testing, a second testing to be completed in April of 2019 prior to the Riverside moving into the property of May of 2019. If there's a determination that that water is not potable or at any time during time being that the school is there, that the water is not potable, Riverside would agree to provide an extension of any existing water line from the most readily accessible and shortest distance to the property in question in accordance with the customary construction and engineering practices in order to enable a tie-in of those property owners that were once receiving potable water from that spring. Riverside agrees to fully and completely pay for the required water line extension and all costs and expenses associated therewith directly to Concord, or Concord agrees to assume and accept full responsibility to arrange for the appropriate construction of such water line and to oversee its completion under the addendum. And then if Concord has to do it, then they would be reimbursed by Riverside. I believe that this agreement is an attempt to comply with as best we could under the legal circumstances that we had authority to do, comply with the concerns of Riverside, or comply with the concerns that Concord residents had with the Riverside school system placing that school in that location. So I'd make a motion that we approve that settlement agreement as outlined.
I'll second it.
And the addendum.
Well, together, yes.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Did you have another comment?
No, that's it.
Mr. Lucas, is there anything else that you want to add or I missed?
Just a clarification on one point. The water line extension, in the event, you had indicated that if the testing results for the spring reached a point where it was not potable water, and actually it's a little bit more stringent than that. If there's a diminishment in the quality of the spring, notwithstanding the fact it may still be potable, they have to draw that extension of the water line over. So it's not as dramatic a change from potable water to non-potable water. It's a reduction in quality that the test results would establish. So the end result, hypothetically, could be you would have a diminishment of the quality, albeit still potable water. And under the language of the addendum, they would have to extend the water line. So that was the only clarification point I wanted to make.
Thank you. I would amend my motion to include that as well.
I'll second the amendment.
So I have a motion and now I have an amendment to
Well, I don't
that.
think you need,
I don't think we need to actually make an amendment to that.
You don't need to make an amendment.
No, we
The
just-
You were just
document-
clarifying.
Yeah, the document speaks for
Okay.
itself.
Please withdraw that.
I would draw that.
Thank you.
Let's make sure we're clean.
There's a,
So what I will do is, I will,
Can I ask Mr. Davis a question? Just his point that he brought up, does that also mean volume of water? You only said quality.
that's a good point.
It's only on the quality.
quality only.
So what if it goes dry?
Well, actually, there's two parts of that, to answer your question. There's the testing results, if there's a reduction in quality, but I also put in, or an adverse impact to the well, which would include the drying up of the, thank you for reminding me of that point. That would address that point that you just mentioned.
I would say the worst quality of water is no water. Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
And I will ask for a roll call vote on the motion to approve the settlement agreement and the addendum to the settlement agreement.
Mr. Melchewski,
Yes.
Mrs. Luda,
No,
Mr. Galloway.
Yes. We have to sign these. I'm guessing you voted no, so you're not going to sign.
no,
It looks like there's only one
Yeah.
one signature.
Yeah, it's for the
Chairman's-
chairman.
Just me?
Thank
It's
you.
all me?
That's
Okay,
good.
all right for me.
I'm not against the school, I'm just against the location to the point where I had to vote no.
I understand that, and I'm going to, being that this is still an open legal matter, I'm going to stick to my limiting of comments on
Okay.
an open legal matter
All right, I won't,
at this time.
I will not comment further.
So, all right, that is done. Amy, would you like to handle future meetings and announcements?
I would be delighted, Mr. Galloway. On Friday, March 9th at 8 a.m., there will be a JED Board meeting here at Town Hall. Wednesday, March 14th at 7 p.m., Board of Zoning Appeals will hold their meeting here at Town Hall. Wednesday, the 21st of March at 6:30 p.m., trustee office hours in our conference room. 7:30 p.m., trustees meeting here at Town Hall. And on Saturday, March 24th at 11 a.m., the Easter egg hunt, rain or shine, will be held at the Town Hall campus.
I would add that there is, at 6 o'clock, there is a Concord Community Days kickoff meeting in the
I think it's
conference room.
5:45, isn't it?
Wasn't it? I have it on,
6 o'clock.
Oh, 6 o'clock.
Bicentennial, 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay, all right.
Right, tell me which date again, I'm sorry.
21st.
Thank you.
the 21st.
6 p.m.
I knew I had to be
I
here at 5:45.
knew there was one, I just got the two confused. My apologies.
All right. Is there anything else to come before this body?
No.
No,
It's been a full night.
it's been a full night.
That's right.
I feel a bit cantankerous.
Well, good.
Wow.
I like it. All right, seeing that there is nothing else, I will go ahead and close this meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Don't disappear till I check your signatures on everything.
Yeah, I'm not.